Hey, and welcome back. Thanks for joining me. This week we're going to continue with the Oldsmobile. We're going to talk a little bit about fuel pumps and the fuel system, as well as finish up some wiring, get the lights working, sheet metal on, get this thing fired up. After that, we're going to move on to the Camaro and maybe a couple other projects. Let's check it out. So last time we got most of the Oldsmobile wired up. We just had to hook up a few loose connections. Now we're moving forward with the fuel system, but we ran into a little problem. One, the fuel pump was restricted, and ultimately we decided to go ahead and put a new one in it. There was a lot of trash in there, might as well. Also, we found restriction in the fuel line as well. I'll show you that right now. There it is. That is the source of our clog. This is a piece of 3/8 fuel line that was near the fuel tank, and it is full of dirt. Wrapping up the wiring on the Oldsmobile here. Now that we have it running and everything starts with the key switch, we got to work on hooking up our lights. While hooking up the headlight wiring, we discovered some interesting things. Let's take a look. So here's our headlight bucket. Typically you have 3 wires. Sorry, not that one. These 3 coming into the bucket to power your headlamp. But on this setup, they've got something interesting going on here. This is some kind of HID LED bulb, and you have some kind of resistor in line, and then it goes into a headlight connector that goes into a headlight connector that goes into butt connectors that then went into the wiring harness. We are not going to do that. Looks like the Oldsmobile is ready for some test drives. What could possibly go wrong? Well, first test drive in the Oldsmobile went great. Made it 2 miles before it ran out of gas because the fuel level sending unit in the tank is no good. So there we are. Rick's going to come rescue us though. All right, test drive successful. Found some more trash in the fuel tank. We got the tach working good. Everything's working really nice on this thing. For today's tech tip, we're going to be talking about studs. No, not me, this kind. I'm going to show you a trick on how to remove them. Now, you may find yourself in a situation where you need to remove one of these studs, but you don't want to use vice grips and score it up. So what you do is you take 2 nuts, screw them on there, take 2 wrenches, and lock them together, and then use your open end wrench to spin it out using the inner nut that you have applied. And there we go, 1 stud removal without tearing it up.
Hey, welcome to Dirty Dan's Tool Time. Today we're going to talk about air tools versus battery tools. Now, when I started my career as a mechanic about 20 years ago, air tools were pretty much the only option. Battery tools were so expensive and bulky, and they didn't have a wide selection of what was available, so we went with air tools. Now, air tools are great for the simple fact that they are low maintenance. You don't have to wait for a battery to charge, and you just oil it and grease it and take care of it. Not a big deal. But you have this coupler and then your air hose attached to it, so then you've got 2 to 4 inches of bulky mess hanging off the end, which usually gets in your way. Now, they make swivel adapters, which helps, but that's not always the best option. You had impact guns, cutoff wheels, sanders. There was all kinds of different options. You could get any tool you needed. Every tool truck carried them, and local hardware stores carried them as well. Then people like Milwaukee got in the game making these battery tools, and they have really come a long way. They make anything you can imagine in 12 or 18 volt lighting options, soldering irons, heat guns, grinders, ratchets, cut-off wheels, battery-powered grease gun, drills, hammer drills, whatever you could want. For instance, this 1/2-inch drive impact is really not that heavy at all. It's actually almost the same weight as my 1/2-inch air impact gun, and this has 1,400 foot-pounds of breakaway torque. I can take the wheels off a semi-truck with this. I've done it. I know it works. Best part about this is you don't have to have an air compressor. Air compressors are expensive, especially a quality one. In my shop, I run an 80-gallon air compressor, runs on 220, and it really does the job. But then you have that compressor running all the time. It's noisy, it takes up space, or you have a couple battery chargers, which don't take up much space. You can take these into the junkyard with you, or you're getting something off a parts car out in the yard. You can take your battery power tools out there and still get the job done. It's up to you, but if I was working at an at-home shop or even in a professional setting, I would definitely migrate towards battery tools. Now, Milwaukee are not the only ones. There are other competitors out there in the market, but I don't like them and I'm not going to talk about them.
Next up, we're going to get back on the Camaro. The first thing we want to tackle on the Camaro right now is getting the stereo installed and wired up, because the next place this car is going is upholstery. It's a lot easier to wire your vehicle's stereo up, well, all wiring in the vehicle for that matter, before you have carpet and trim panels and kick panels and seats and headliner and all that stuff in place. You can go ahead and route everything nice and neat and hide it. For this car, we're going to be using this subwoofer enclosure. This has a JL audio subwoofer in it, and on the back side the amp is mounted. That will power everything else. And this is the cool part right here. This is a Bluetooth receiver for your phone, so no bulky control head in the dash, no CD player hanging down, nothing like that. You'll get in the car, the dash will be smooth and free of any kind of control head for a stereo. Get in, connect your phone, hook it up, and go. That's all you need. Let's go ahead and find a good spot for it in the trunk and get it wired up. A couple things you need to make sure you have before you get started. We have already determined that placement is going to be right there. We have our wiring kit for our amp and subwoofer, and we also have a very large fuse that you put in line with the battery power. Now make sure when you mount this somewhere, it's somewhere you can get to it. So we're going to put it right here on the side of the battery box where it's easy to get to, and our cable's just going to run along the back tail pin, boom, in there, all nice and neat. All right, so the stereo is all wired up. Show you what we did real quick, and then we'll fire it up and see how it sounds. This is a really nice unit. It is a 5-channel setup, so not only does it control the subwoofer, but it runs the entire stereo system. Bluetooth receiver right there, and you can see we've got some wiring to clean up and tidy up here. All right, she's working good. Just gotta do some adjustments. All the adjustments are right back there. The devil's gonna say, man, that's a badass car. Gotta be for speed, and I got soul for sale. I'm gonna drive this hot one straight to the hill. Hey, thanks for joining me. That's gonna wrap it up for this week. Next week we got some cool stuff in store. We're gonna hit up Camaro a little bit more. We're going to tidy up the stereo wiring, address a hanging brake caliper, and we've also got to get the air conditioning charged up and working and get this thing ready for alignment. Then we're going to head to Pennsylvania to Hawk's Performance, Kenny Hawk's place, along with Village Customs for his Rat Rod show. We'll show you some cool videos and run into some new people, hopefully. Thanks for checking us out. We'll see you guys next time. Hit us up on social media, Greasy Boy Customs, and feel free to email us at greasyboycustoms@gmail.com. Happy hot rodding. Catch you next time.